Hello friends and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make a sourdough panettone. In this recipe we are not using the traditional stiff starter, so the final result will be a bit different. But don't worry, it's still incredibly soft, fluffy and airy. This recipe is also great for getting creative with fillings. You can customize it with whatever you like. I'll show you how I made it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's the perfect treat for any occasion. But also be prepared, it takes a while to make, though it's totally worth it. So let's grab our ingredients and let's get started. First, we need to feed our starter the night before, just like we usually do. In a jar, combine 20 grams of sourdough starter, 40 grams of water, 38 grams of bread flour, and 2 grams of whole wheat flour. Mix it all well until there is no dry flour left. Then let it ferment overnight at a warm temperature around 78-80 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, we will prepare the aromatic mixture. This mixture adds the great flavor to our panettone. Start with 1 orange zest and 1 lemon zest. Then add 30 grams of honey. I'm using European flower honey, along with a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Mix everything together. If you want to add a little extra flavor, you can also throw in a tablespoon of spiced rum. Here you can be creative and mix whatever you think will taste good. Then cover it and let it soak in the fridge overnight. Now let's move on to making the first dough. For this recipe you will need a stand mixer. Without one it's probably impossible to make. In your mixer bowl add 105 grams of water, 60 grams of sugar and 65 grams of your active sourdough starter. Mix it until the starter is fully dissolved. Once everything is well combined, gradually add in 200 grams of high-protein flour. Here it's really important to use flour with around 13% protein. If you use something less strong, it won't work out well. I will leave all the ingredients I used in the description below the video. Mix it all together. I started with a Danish whisk and then switched to the hook attachment to finish kneading the dough for a few minutes, until it all comes together and becomes smooth. Next, add 85 grams of room temperature butter and knead it into the dough until it's fully incorporated. I recommend cutting the butter into pieces and slowly adding it to the dough during kneading. Don't rush this process. When you see that your mixer needs some help, stop the mixer, scrape the edges of the bowl and continue mixing until the butter is fully dissolved in the dough. Once the butter is mixed in, slowly add 55 grams of egg yolks, a little at a time, and knead until the dough becomes smooth and elastic. The total process should take about 30-40 minutes of kneading, so don't rush. Once the dough is ready, place it in a buttered bowl, cover it and let it rest for about 12 hours at 78-80 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, we need to prepare our panettone molds. I will leave a link for the molds in the description below. Take some wooden sticks and carefully poke a few holes in the bottom of each mold. This is essential as it will allow us to flip the panettone after baking, preventing it from collapsing. Once you've poked the holes, your molds are ready. Set them aside until we need them. Now let's continue to make our second dough. Take your first dough, which should have triple in size by now and is nice and airy. Next, grab a cold mixer bowl. This helps prevent the dough from overheating during the longer kneading process. Transfer your first dough into the bowl. Add 60 grams of high-protein flour and optionally 2 grams of malt powder. Mix it in, then slowly pour in 30 grams of water and blend everything together. Once the flour and water are well combined, add the first half of the 55 grams of sugar and 105 grams of room temperature butter. Once everything is dissolved, add the remaining sugar and butter and continue mixing until fully incorporated. Once all the sugar and butter are incorporated, add 6 grams of salt and mix again. Now it's time for the aromatic mixture that's been soaking overnight. Slowly pour it into the dough and mix until it's fully combined. Next, gradually add in 65 grams of egg yolks, a little at a time, kneading the dough until it becomes smooth and elastic. After that, continue kneading for about 10 more minutes. Keep an eye on the dough, it should feel smooth, elastic and slightly tacky. At the end, I like to knead by hand just to really feel the structure of the dough. I use the slap and fold technique to finish the dough. Total kneading took me around 40-50 minutes. Once the dough is ready, I return my bowl to the mixer and add chopped good quality dark chocolate for baking. Mix until it's just well incorporated. At this point, your dough might not have the strong stretchy structure, but don't worry, now we need to let it rest. Cover the bowl and let it rest for 1 hour at room temperature. After the dough has rested, you will notice that the gluten has become much stronger and you can play around with it. It will feel sticky but strong at the same time. Now we need to shape our panettone. For molds like mine, 4 to 5 inches, we will have 2 panettones. Gently transfer the dough to a clean surface. Divide the dough into 2 equal portions. Shape each portion into a tight ball by folding the edges underneath, creating tension on the top. Once shaped, place each dough ball into the prepared panettone molds. Now we have two options. If you don't want to use a glaze on top, cover the molds with a clean towel. If you want to use a glaze, don't cover them. Let the dough rise for 6 to 8 hours at room temperature. I just let it rest until morning when I'm ready to bake. Once the dough has risen and filled the molds, it's time to bake. Preheat your oven to 320 degrees Fahrenheit. Before baking, if you're using a glaze, apply it as you like. For the glaze, I use 150 grams of almond flour and powdered sugar, 25 grams of cornstarch, 15 grams of cacao powder, and 100 grams of egg whites. Just mix all the dry ingredients together and then add the egg whites. If you're not using a glaze, simply make a cross slash on top of the dough with a knife or razor blade. Place the panettone molds into the preheated oven and bake for about 25 to 50 minutes. The exact baking time will depend on the size of your molds and your oven, so keep an eye on them. You'll know they are done when the tops are golden brown and a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean, or the internal temperature reaches 195 degrees Fahrenheit. Once they're done, take them out of the oven and flip the panettone upside down to cool. Let them rest in this position for about 12 hours to ensure the shape holds and to allow the flavors to fully develop. I just use my containers and place the second one between the table and chair. After the cooling period, your panettone should be perfectly set, fluffy and airy. Just remove your sticks and that's it. Your homemade sourdough panettone is now ready to enjoy. Fluffy, airy and perfectly delicious. I hope you give this recipe a try and get creative with your own fillings. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know how it turns out, or if you have any questions. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe for more recipes. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.